All right, Bulls and Bears back with another dose. BX4 News, bull to the bust, ride the bull, prepare for the bear. Let's go ahead and get into the news. Folks, a lot is happening. We are on the precipice of something that we've never seen before. We have the current administration going after a lot of agencies, looking into all the spending, all the money we've been sending as a country all over the world. Which people are getting the money, who's getting the money. It's a big debate right now. And there's a big battle happening. Some people want to stop it. Some people want to see more of it. So it's, as I always say, it's very interesting, and it's about ready to get even more wild and crazy as we continue to watch what's happening here. So we already have about 40,000 federal workers that were set to accept a buyout from the current administration. They're trying to basically drain a lot of the government jobs, not all of them, but a lot. It looks to be about 80+% that are in the crosshairs right now for no longer having a job federally. They're looking to cut spending. And yes, that could definitely save some money, but what are the consequences going to be when the economy is propped up by consumer spending? You can't just wipe out tens of thousands of jobs at once and expect not to see any consequences, right? So we're going to talk about that today and a lot more. We're going to talk about what consequences I think are going to happen, and a lot of the numbers are going to actually speak for themselves and kind of tell us where we're headed and paint the picture for us, right? So please make sure you subscribe. Let's go ahead and start right here. And let's go back to this trade deficit, a record trade deficit at the end of 2024. I'm just briefly bringing up the headline here out of the Times just to show you that I'm not making this stuff up, because some people say that I'm, clicking them or clickbaiting them or whatever they say, that these things aren't true, folks. These are real items. These are real stories. This is real data. Yes, I'll give you my opinion. I can tell you where I think we're headed, but it's going to be based off of facts and what's actually happening, all right? Record trade deficit, folks. We don't manufacture hardly anything here anymore. And we're going to look at the jobs numbers here in a minute. And remember, the jobs numbers are mostly service sector jobs, right? So servers, people mixing up drinks, waiters, delivery drivers, not really making anything. Yes, it's good that these people are working, absolutely. But when you look at the overall job force, the labor force, how much are we actually producing? Well, when you look at the trade deficit, not much. We're importing record amounts compared to what we're actually exporting. But let's take a look at the jobs numbers just to see where the trend is at. And let's start right here out of U.S. News. January, 183,000 jobs added for the whole month. Remember that, for the whole month. The whole month of January, 183,000, beating forecasts, right? So nice positive little add-on there to the end of that title, beating forecasts, right? So everything's great. The economy's doing well. It sounds like that if you just read the headline, right? Now, still keep that in mind, 183,000 for the entire month. Let's jump over to the jobless claims, right? Jobless filings. Jobless claims rise slightly, but no sign of trouble brewing in the labor market. Folks, look at this. You have to go down into this to get the data here. New jobless claims increased by 11,000 to 219,000 in the 7 days that ended February 1st. So the last month, basically, of January, or the last week of January, 219,000 jobs. So we're losing more jobs in 1 week than we're gaining for the entire month. Why do you think you continue to see the labor force participation rate continue to stagnate and even get worse? Right? Things like this, they're not showing you the real picture. They're putting certain numbers out there, and they're putting positive words into the headlines to make you think that everything is just fine, that there's nothing to fear, that you don't have to be concerned about anything negative happening because the economy is growing. That's what they're telling us. Jobs are being added is what they're telling us. Also, how many of these jobs added were people that just got laid off the previous week or the previous month, right? A lot. And then, like we talked about, we add on top of that the service sector jobs really make up a bulk of the jobs that are being added, and it's not looking so good, folks. So when the spending game comes to an end, a lot of these jobs, it's going to get even worse. A lot of these jobs are going to be gone. A lot of these new great jobs are going to be gone because they're chopping spending. They're getting rid of a lot of the spending, and some people say it's waste. Other people say this spending is necessary to keep the economy, quote unquote, growing. We're going to see who's right, but I know most of you know what's behind these numbers. I just have to come back to it because there's new subscribers. And sometimes I still see people down in the comments saying, what do you mean, JJ? I just saw this headline that says the jobs were added, everything's doing good. Folks, you can't just read the headlines. Look at the numbers. Do a little analytical digging, or if you will. Let's go ahead and move on here to the next story, though. And actually, you don't need to do analytical digging because I'll do the digging for you. Just tune in here, and I appreciate being here. Next here, another sign of the times here. New data, financially strapped consumers. Sorry, I've got a washer going off over there. Financially strapped consumers move to credit card alternatives. A lot of these people are doing the buy now, pay later, and that's already been happening, but it's getting worse as a lot of these credit cards not being paid off in full. People aren't able to go further into debt. I believe 1 in 5 credit cards are close to being maxed out or maxed out. If I remember that report from last, I believe September maybe, we talked about that. Now moving to credit card alternatives. What does this mean? Well, here's some more insight. This is out of PYMNTS. I guess they just call it payments.com. Another key finding is the use of alternative credit products such as payday loans. Payday loans? Are you serious? Those interest rates are outrageous. Payday loans, overdrafts, and buy now, pay later, of course. The struggling paycheck-to-paycheck consumers disproportionately turn to these alternatives, with 37% of their essential expenses purchased through alternative credit products, a rate 3 times higher than those not living paycheck to paycheck. It's amazing how long these people continue to borrow and borrow and borrow. You're already at record levels of debt. Consumers as a country, record levels of debt, worse than prior to the financial crisis. And it's been like that for a few years. But somehow they keep kicking the can down the road, don't they? The student loan forgiveness, lots of other ways that they're kicking the can down the road, which we uncover here pretty much every episode. And this is just something else. Different types of ways to keep spending and keep going into debt without having to face the consequences of making that credit card payment. Well, we know that more people now than ever are not able to pay off their credit cards in full. So from here, it's only going to expand and get much, much worse. And we can just look at the mortgage market to see what's happening there. Out of Housing Wire, FHA and VA delinquencies are rising quickly. Of course, these are the programs that people can most easily get into a home with a lower down payment and different types of financing mechanisms and easier ways to get people into a home, basically, to make it easier. On top of all the 2,000 plus down payment assistance programs that we see across the country right now. So, folks, even with all this help to get people into homes, why would these delinquencies be rising quickly, as Housing Wire says? Because the people that are buying the homes are barely able to get these homes. If it weren't for the special financing, the FHA, the low down payment, the down payment assistance, and then the freezing of those payments when things get rough, like we saw a few years ago. If it weren't for these things, folks, hardly anyone would be able to buy a home. It would be even lower than it is right now. All right. And this is just more evidence, folks, that things are headed in the wrong direction. Now, there's a new administration in town. It's only been a couple weeks, so we don't expect things to turn around this quickly. So likely we're still going to see a lot of fallout from what's been happening over the past few years. But so far what's being done, it's not really going to help. Look at the egg prices. Look at the cost of living. Of course, it's only been a couple weeks. But with all the job losses that we're about ready to see from the federal workers, what's going to happen next? I think things are about ready to steamroll into much darker territory. And let's get into a couple examples here. This is out of CNN via Yahoo Finance. Attention, federal employees. It may be hard to get a private sector job right now. Here's an example here of an HR exec turned bathroom attendant. Folks, these layoffs and these cuts come so quickly that a lot of these people are just desperate to go out and find a job. So they're giving an example here. HR exec now turned into a bathroom attendant. She says, this is what we're doing right now in the middle of the week and the middle of the night. So cleaning bathrooms or Is it an attendant that's there when people are using the bathrooms? I don't get it. Is she handing the soap to people? Is she handing towels to people? I don't know. It doesn't matter. But former HR exec doing that job. Quote, "We encourage you to find a job in the private sector as soon as you would like to do so. The way to greater American prosperity is encouraging people to move from lower productivity jobs in the public sector to higher productivity jobs in the private sector." So basically what they're saying is that a lot of these federal employees weren't really doing much, right? They're mandating that they go back to the office, and that's going to be a way to get rid of a lot of people right there, because once people work at home, they don't want to go back into the office. And I think it's going to be surprising when you see these cuts happen, how much you may not even notice any difference. People are going to be looking around saying, why were we paying hundreds of thousands of these workers? Because things are still going on. I mean, the economy hasn't imploded. The world hasn't ended. And these people found job in the private sector, found work in the private sector. So were these people needed? Well, this is going to be an experiment to find out if these people were needed or if they were not needed. Will it cause an implosion? I've got people telling me that this is going to be the biggest implosion we've ever seen. I've got other people saying it's going to be nothing but positivity. It's going to bring the cost of living down because we're spending less. I could see the part where we're spending less, but folks, a lot of the growth right now is based on nothing but spending. So when you stop the spending, that economic activity disappears. And it's a lot of that activity that is adding up to be the gross domestic product, what they're calling economic growth. And when that spending stops, when we're pulling back, when we're cutting jobs like this, there's bound to be some sort of fallout. So we'll see. We'll see if it's bad or good or just no change whatsoever. It's going to be very, very quick and very, very soon as far as I can see. Let's jump into retail real quick here out of investing.com. Forever 21 contemplates a second bankruptcy filing in 5 years. So we see these Chapter 11 the bankruptcy filings out of businesses, reorganizations. They close certain locations and they cut certain staff and they try to trim down to try to survive, basically. Well, now the second time in 5 years, Forever 21, as more people shift to online shopping, I think they should just give it up at this point. I mean, the second filing in 5 years, how long are you going to reorganize yourself to try to stay afloat here? The fashion retailer is contemplating filing for bankruptcy once again, following its previous exit from Chapter 11 bankruptcy nearly 5 years ago. Over 500 stores collaborating with the restructuring advisor to explore strategies to manage its financial difficulties. The sources also revealed that Forever 21 is actively seeking a buyer. So it looks like another example of a zombie company, companies that are only surviving because of debt. And we see a lot of bond issuance from these companies, not Forever 21 in particular, maybe I'll have to look into it, but in general, a lot of bond issuance, trying to refinance their debt, along with these every few year bankruptcy filings. And will the store survive? Will it not survive? It's going to be more people who are going to have to go look for a job somewhere else. Maybe everyone can work at Amazon, because Amazon seems to be running everybody out of business. That's what we're being told. It's the shift to online shopping. But also, what I don't think we're being told the whole story about is the number of people that just don't have the money to spend anymore because they're so loaded up on debt right now. All right, still on the topic of consumer spending and Amazon dominating pretty much everyone. Amazon set to pass Walmart in revenue for the first time. Amazon trucks everywhere. I can't drive anywhere now without seeing a bunch of Amazon trucks all over the place. In my little street here, I live on a cul-de-sac. My little street here, I see Amazon trucks probably 5, 6, 7 times a day. And there's only like 10 or 12 houses in the little area where I'm at. So most people are getting something from Amazon, like at least once a week, it seems like. Analysts surveyed are expecting Amazon to report revenue of $187 billion for the previous quarter, folks. That's amazing. And it just seems like Amazon's always finding new ways to make money, doesn't it? Some kind of shady, in my opinion. Here's an example. I've got this special needs kid, so he likes to get on his little tablet, get on the internet, he watches videos. What we're finding out is somehow he is subscribing to this Amazon Music feature where you can stream all these songs, right? I forget the name of it, but somehow he's signing up for this, and he's going in and making the purchase, even though he doesn't know how to use a credit card, he doesn't know how to type in the credit card numbers. Somehow he's signing up for it. So they're making it really easy for people to sign up for these things. And the fact that you have to pay extra for these things, right? So if you have Amazon Prime, you're getting the fast shipping, and you get other things like Prime Video where you can stream movies and TV shows and series and everything. And they're making it easy for people to buy these upgrades, but they're charging more. Like I was on Amazon Prime, the video streaming service, and a lot of the movies I wanted to watch, you had to pay extra for. So now they're just charging extra for certain things. And then of course the music thing. And somehow my son keeps signing up for it when he doesn't have a credit card. So we've got to do better on the tablet security and have him enter a passcode or do something. But he's signed up like 5 times on this program. So in other words, Amazon's finding a lot of ways to make money. They're continuing to dominate. And we'll see how this all plays out, folks. And as I've mentioned here, I'm being cautious right now. I'm sitting back in popcorn mode, just kind of watching everything unfold. We're seeing a lot of fireworks, folks, and there's going to be some consequences. Maybe it'll be good, maybe it'll be bad, and maybe that's up to you to interpret if it's good or bad. But we're going to see some wild things, folks. So please make sure you're subscribed. Stay ahead of the financial economic curve. And please let me know down in the comments on this and where you're at. What are you up to? What are you doing? Are you being cautious? Are you investing? Are you waiting for a crash? Or are you waiting for inflation to get worse? Are you investing in housing, thinking that housing is going to start going back up with all the stimulus and with everything else that we're seeing? Or is it going to be deflationary, folks? I'm still stacking the silver, of course. And there's a few things that I've got my eye on that I'm actually waiting for a big correction. I'll get into that more in our next report. Again, please make sure you subscribe. We'll see you here again, hopefully. Big love, everybody. Bye for now. Peace.